At first, I thought it was just a mail mix-up, an old letter addressed to the previous tenant. Then more arrived, all handwritten, all in the same shaky script. And every single one said the same thing. You shouldn't be there. I assumed it was some kind of twisted joke until I found the last letter, already opened inside the closet, and what it said made me question whether I was ever truly alone in that apartment. My name is Tyler, and this past March, I finally got my own apartment downtown. The price was too good to be true. A studio on the 5th floor of an 80s building. The realtor, Mr. Harrison, seemed eager to close the deal quickly. The previous tenant left rather abruptly, he said, avoiding my gaze. Left some things behind, but nothing you need to worry about. When I asked for the former tenant's name, he hesitated before answering. Brandon Walsh. Lived here for 3 years. The first week, everything seemed normal, until I found the first letter slipped under my door. It was a yellowed envelope, with my address written by hand, but addressed to Brandon Walsh. Inside, a single line in shaky handwriting. You shouldn't be there. I thought it was some eccentric neighbor who didn't know about the tenant change yet. I threw the letter away and went on with my life. But the next day, there was another. Same handwriting, same yellowed paper. She's still watching. The letters started coming daily, always in the morning, always under the door. I never saw who delivered them, even when I woke up early to try to catch them. It was as if they appeared out of nowhere. Letter 3. Brandon knew he shouldn't have left. Letter 4. Can you feel her watching you at night? Letter 5. Apartment. 504 has its secrets. That was my apartment, 504. Whoever was sending the letters knew specific details. I started feeling watched even inside my own home. I decided to find out more about Brandon Walsh. I talked to Mrs. Thompson, the neighbor from 502. She was a woman in her 70s who had lived in the building for decades. Oh, Brandon. Poor thing. She sighed. He was a quiet guy, worked as a programmer, but in his last few months he got very strange. Said someone was leaving letters for him that he felt watched. My blood ran cold. Letters? Yes, he knocked on my door several times, desperate. Said someone knew about Jessica and wouldn't stop, until he paid for what he did. Who was Jessica? Mrs. Thompson lowered her voice. Nobody knows for sure. Brandon never talked about any girlfriend, but in the last days before he disappeared, he would scream her name during the early morning hours. I returned to the apartment disturbed. If Brandon had gone through the same thing, maybe he had left. Some clue. I started searching meticulously through every corner. That's when I noticed something strange in the bedroom closet. One of the backboards seemed loose. When I removed it, I found a small hiding place. Inside was a stack of letters, the same ones I was receiving but addressed to Brandon. Dozens of them. And at the bottom, a different letter, already opened, with firmer handwriting. Brandon, if you're reading this, it means you've discovered the truth about Jessica. She wasn't just your neighbor from apartment 503. You know what you did that December night. And now it's time to pay. The letters will continue until you do the right thing. Someone who knows the truth. Jessica lived in 503, the apartment next to mine. I sought out Mrs. Thompson again. Jessica Martinez, she said sadly. A beautiful girl, medical student, lived alone in 503 for about 2 years, but last December she disappeared. Disappeared? She just vanished, didn't take anything, didn't tell anyone. The police investigated but found nothing. Her apartment is still empty. The landlord hasn't been able to rent it since. I looked at the door to 503. It was sealed with faded police tape. But there was something strange. The lock looked like it had been forced recently. That night, the letter that arrived was different. Tyler, you're asking the right questions. But be careful. Brandon did too. And look where he ended up. Jessica needs justice. Apartment 503. Midnight, come alone. For the first time, the letter was addressed to me, not Brandon. Whoever was behind this knew my name, knew I was investigating. I looked at the clock, 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until midnight. Against all my better judgment, I left the apartment. The hallway was silent, only the light at the end of the corridor, flickering intermittently. The door to 503 was ajar. I pushed it open slowly. The apartment was empty but clean, as if someone had been taking care of it. On the living room table there was a photo. A young brunette smiling next to a man I recognized from photos I found in Brandon's apartment. Under the photo, an open letter. Jessica discovered Brandon's experiments. He was using the college laboratory to manufacture drugs. Jessica threatened to report him, so Brandon, he had no choice. I continued reading. Brandon brought her to his apartment on the night of December 15th. Said he wanted to explain everything, that he could make it up to her. But when Jessica insisted she was going to the police, Brandon panicked. He pushed her. Jessica hit her head on the corner of the coffee table. Brandon thought she was just unconscious, but when he realized she wasn't breathing anymore, he despaired. I felt a chill. The coffee table in my apartment had a dark stain that I thought was just wear from time. The letter continued. Brandon hid Jessica's body in the building's basement, in one of the abandoned storage units. Then, he cleaned the apartment and spread the story that she had moved to another city. But Jessica didn't rest. The letters started a week later, always with the same message. You shouldn't be there. Because Brandon really shouldn't have been in the apartment where he killed an innocent person. For months, Brandon tried to ignore the letters, but they became more specific, more detailed. Someone knew exactly what he had done. In the last letter Brandon received, there was an address, storage unit number 7 in the basement. Brandon went down to check. When he came back, he was pale, in shock. He packed his bags that same night and disappeared. 3 days later, you moved into his apartment. I stopped reading. Brandon fled 3 months ago. I moved in exactly 3 days after he disappeared. How did this person know all this in such detail? I went down to the basement. It was a maze of poorly lit corridors and dusty storage units. I found number 7. The door was ajar. Inside, besides old boxes and broken furniture, there was something that made my stomach turn. A piece of green fabric, the same as the blouse Jessica wore in the photo, and on the floor, a recent letter. Tyler, now you know the truth. Brandon killed Jessica and hid the body here. But there's something you still haven't understood. Who do you think has been writing these letters? Go back to your apartment. There's one last letter waiting for you. I ran back to 504. On the kitchen table, there was a letter different from the others. The paper was newer, the ink still shining. Tyler, you did what Brandon didn't have the courage to do. You discovered the truth. You went down to the basement. You saw the evidence. Now you need to finish what Brandon started. Call the police. Tell them everything. Jessica deserves justice. But first, look behind you. I froze. I turned around slowly. In the window's reflection, I saw a female figure standing behind me. Dark hair, green blouse. When I turned around completely, there was no one there. But on the table appeared one last letter, as if it had materialized. Thank you, Tyler. Now I can rest. With trembling hands, I called the police. I told them everything. The letters, Brandon. Jessica's disappearance, the storage unit in the basement. 2 hours later, my apartment was full of investigators. They found more evidence hidden by Brandon. Jessica's clothes, her phone, even the drug vial that caused the whole argument. Detective Michael Chen told me, "It's impressive how you managed to piece together all these clues. We've been looking for Brandon Walsh for months. He must be hiding somewhere, but with this evidence, it's just a matter of time." When I asked about the letters, he frowned. "What letters? We didn't find any letters here." I desperately searched for the letters I had saved. They had all disappeared. The hiding place in the closet was empty. It was as if they had never existed. A week later, Brandon was found in a hotel in another state. He confessed everything. Jessica finally got her justice. The letters never came, again. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the apartment, I still feel like someone is watching me. It's not a scary feeling, it's more like gratitude. Jessica got what she wanted. She used me to expose the truth that Brandon tried to hide. And now, finally, she can rest in peace. I still live in apartment 504 today. The letters stopped, but I learned an important lesson. Sometimes the dead don't rest until justice is served.